Mr. Miller, it's good to see you. Good. Look forward to meeting you. I haven't shaken your hand yet.
Yes,
First of all, it looks like you barely fit at that podium. How tall are you?
I started at 6'6", and I think I've been beaten down a quarter of an inch or so.
Okay. Good. So I'm going to follow up on Senator Evans' question, and I got a couple others. So when I first was elected in 2009, the VDOT used to put out a report every year called VTrans, and they would update it about every 5 or 10 years. And you've probably seen it be on CTB. In the last version of VTrans I saw, they had done an estimate of our unfunded project needs over the next 20 years. And my recollection is that when we voted on the transportation bill, the McDonald bill, I think it was HB 2313, in 2013, the estimated unfunded need by VDOT at the time was $120 billion over 20 years. Then the bill we passed that year, I think, generated about an additional $1 billion a year after funding our unfunded maintenance need. So in other words, we plugged about 1/5 of what was projected to be the unfunded capital needs in the state over the next 20 years with that bill in 2013. And then I think last year we added a little bit more money to it. But at least, back of the envelope math, from my perspective, in terms of where our tax revenue is relative to the need that VDOT projected 10 years ago, we're still probably not even 50% of the way there. So I'm just curious where you get your numbers to think that we have a lot of extra money and don't have a lot of things to pay for, because I'm having a hard time seeing that when I can identify probably about $20 to $40 billion of projects in Northern Virginia I could get started on right now if anybody gave me the money to do it.
Senator, I can't go back to the VTrans numbers that you're speaking of today, but I'll be happy to do that. What I'm speaking about, and listen, transportation is like almost anything else that's big. There's never, there's always wants and desires that outstrip our willingness and ability to pay for them. It's just that simple. Certainly the transportation authorities that have been created have helped a lot, and the work that y'all did to create that some years back. So we've raised many billions of dollars in Hampton roads, as you know, and same thing in Northern Virginia and now in Richmond. So that's helped us a lot. I would tell you that the numbers that I'm speaking to you about are our base plan at the CTB in a 6-year plan that we approved last year. And our base was the number that I'm referencing, that it's grown beyond that after the cuts by $2 billion. And so is the $2 billion sufficient for everything in the world? Of course not. But is it substantially more than we were intending to spend to do what we needed to do? And to, particularly on the highway maintenance side, yes, it is. And so that's what I'm referencing, is we have a plan. CTB's approved it. It's a 6-year plan. And now we find ourselves, after the cuts, with about $2 billion more before we go get any more. And that's significant in my view. So that's what I'm referencing.
Okay, well, I'll just highlight a couple of things. First of all, when I was a kid, VDOT used to mow the grass more than like once or twice a year. And now in Northern Virginia, we seem to grow hay in our medians because that's all that's willing to be funded. And I get complaints about it from local government. I get complaints about it from constituents. The grass literally gets to be 2 feet high until VDOT comes in and funds it. And they used to do that a lot more. In addition, we had situations where our pavement in Northern Virginia, you can actually see the dirt in the ground under it because VDOT basically stopped repaving roads for about 3 or 4 years until 2014 when the money finally came through to start doing it again. And so I would submit that we're not even meeting our maintenance needs today. We'd start mowing the grass regularly, start on a regular paving schedule. I can think of 2 bridges in my district right now that flood regularly because of climate change and increased rain and floods. And the only way VDOT told me we could get it funded was for the thing to basically be about to fall down. And we actually had one road in my district last year that we shut down because the bridge became unsafe and they had to close it. And now we have a temporary bridge up right now on that road so that people could still drive through. So it's submit that the maintenance needs are massive, and I don't think there's any room to cut. But my next question is, in your comments, I didn't hear you say anything about Metro. And if you look around Northern Virginia, which powers the bulk of this economy in terms of tax revenue, in terms of what pays for our schools, higher ed, and everything else, the income taxes that come in Northern Virginia, all the construction cranes are around metro stations. Metro is what, and transit is what is driving the Northern Virginia economy. Businesses look to locate in Nova to be near transit because that's what young people want. Okay? And we got the nice Silver Line, but Prince William County and Fairfax County would like to see the yellow line, the blue line extended south to Prince William to deal with 95. And that's probably 10 to 20, $25 billion project after you pay for the tunnel that Senator Eben mentioned under the Roslyn, and perhaps another line over the Woodrow Wilson Bridge. Metro is about to come out with their core capacity study in like 12 months, where they're going to come to us and say they need billions of dollars. How do you all plan to pay for that?
Sir, I can't answer that question today, but I'll be happy to try to get back to you and give you an answer. I would tell you that, as you are well aware, and as I referenced earlier in my comments, transit is taking a huge hit during the pandemic. What's it going to be when it's over? Is it going to be bigger? Is it going to be less? Or, how's this whole shift going to change and working and so forth? I wish I knew the answer, but all you have to do is go down and look anecdotally and it's like, where'd everybody go? I mean, we're seeing 80% declines places. So we've got to be very careful as we look at new projects and as we look at the future that we understand what we think is going to really happen. And I just don't know that yet. I don't think anybody knows that yet. There's lots of questions, and we're going to look hard at it. So
Okay, I appreciate that. And then my last question is, and I can appreciate the fact there's uncertainty about transit, et cetera. I would just note that the Commonwealth is currently investing about $1 billion in a bus rapid transit right down the spine of the 36th Senate District on Route 1 to Fort Belvoir, and with the hope of bringing Metro. But with all these investments in transit we're seeing between the Silver Line, bus rapid transit, we're planning other bus rapid transit, I believe, in Titan, out Route 7. The only way these projects work, the only way you get people into these multi-use, mixed-use developments to shop and eat and commute, is they also have to be served by roads which are both bike and pedestrian friendly. And the Commonwealth has no real decent source of revenue for bike or ped projects. We have it for, we have some sources for road congestion, we have sources for transit to some extent, but there's no dedicated source for bike or ped, and they don't compete well under smart scale or NVTA. How do you think the administration would feel about creating a funding source that's solely and only dedicated to bike or ped? And I'm not talking about TAP and federal money. There's some federal programs. We need billions, not just tens of millions. Yes, you do. And so I'm just curious what the administration's position would be, at least on creating a funding stream for bike and ped.
Senator, I can't answer that question today. I'm not trying to make an excuse here, but I got a little bit of a fire hose going on, so I'd be happy to get back to you. I will say this, and I'm familiar with some bike work down in my community. Back to the metrics piece, I think it's very important. I'm all for bikes. I still have the 10-speed that I got in junior high school. That's a really long time ago when 10-speed just became sort of the thing. I still have that bicycle. The tires don't support me so well anymore, but I still have the bike, and it's pristine. So I love bicycles, but I don't want to build bike lanes that people don't use. And I think we need to be very careful that we spend these monies, whatever amount of money we have, very carefully and very wisely. And if they're going to use the bike lanes, I'm all for it. If they're not going to use the bike lanes, I'm not for it. I'd say the same thing about roads, tunnels, bridges, transit, or anything else. We need to have good metrics. We need to have return on investment, and that's what I'm about.
Great. Appreciate you being willing to answer questions. Thank you.